For TRICHOMES.com, I'm Jarod Duggins, and this is the Careers in Cannabis podcast. On this show, we sit down with staffing agencies, cannabis companies, and other industry professionals to discuss employment opportunities in the burgeoning cannabis industry. After going to college, where she studied sports therapy and entrepreneurship, today's guest put that education to practice while working with a professional MBA team in the beginning of her career. This mother of two started on her path towards her career in cannabis by educating herself about cannabis for herself, which in turn has made it easier for her to relate to others looking to learn about the plant. We are joined today by Tammy Pettigrew, also known as the Cannabis Cutie, an entrepreneur and educator in the cannabis space. Tammy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And thanks for taking the time. Know you're busy and cannabis is a busy vertical right now. A lot of growth going on. And I know that your current status as an entrepreneur and educator has you running all over the place right now. But before we get there, as always with our guest, based upon the time period we're in, the global pandemic and everything that's going on around us, I know you do live in California and the fires have been going crazy. How have you been doing? How's your family?
My family as well. Where we live, there was a small fire in a canyon, but they put it out pretty quick. They got it out in a couple days. So we're safe. Our skies have cleared up. Our air is a lot better. So we've noticed an improvement and are thankful that it shifted and we're doing well.
Great to hear. To jump right into it, it's, again, as I touched on, as a cannabis entrepreneur and an educator, I know that you've been an influencer for quite some time, but recently made some alliances with herb.co and have been going on their lives. What type of past experiences and jobs did you have, and how did you get to the spot you are today?
So for me, I had a background in sports. I went to college undergrad with the intention on going into the sports industry. So I worked for Oklahoma State Athletics. I had a really awesome internship with the NBA. We had a new team in town called the Oklahoma City Thunder. And cannabis use was a part of my college experience and up until now. And going into cannabis kind of was something that naturally happened. And when I went to grad school, I went there with the intention on going into the cannabis industry. I just didn't know what facet. So I did pretty much every project that I could in grad school at the University of Miami on cannabis. And once school was over, while I was trying to educate myself more on the science, I was looking for people on the internet to explain it to me in a more simple way, but I couldn't find anything. And I kind of realized that I was looking for myself. And that was kind of when I executed the idea of educating in a way that was easy to understand.
Fantastic. And is that when the adopted handle or you're also known as, AKA the Cannabis Cutie, came about?
Yeah, well, that came about through conversation with someone who was just saying, you never really embrace that you're beautiful and you don't ever talk about cannabis. And it was just kind of like, wow. That's so true. So for me, the Cannabis Cutie was in a way, in a personal way, it was kind of an act of defiance and saying, you know what, I am going to lead with the fact that I'm a cannabis user and it's a big part of my life and I'm an attractive woman.
Hey, well, nothing wrong with that. Not at all. And so within that is, within your studies and educating yourself, it seems I've watched your live multiple times. It seems that you have a pretty decent interactive audience that likes to learn via those lives with you. Can you tell a little bit about how that evolved into what it is?
Yeah. So fortunately for me, Matt Gray offered me the opportunity to be one of the influencers that gets to kind of do their thing on Herb Lives. And my thing is education. So I really went each week and kind of broke down 1 week in my course to the audience and kind of explained, a synopsis of what they would learn in my course. So they would have, modern history and ancient history. They would learn plant science and then the science of how it interacts with our body. So I kind of did that for the audience and they seem to really love it because, again, these aren't things that are so easy to find out. You really do have to read legal jargon or medical journals, and it can be just really complex. So I think they kind of enjoyed having something brought to them that they just don't typically see.
And, unique information, unique educating points is definitely needed out there. Perspective is everything. So, that's one part of it. How did you, in the entrepreneurial spirit, how did you come about becoming, an influencer and an educator in cannabis? How did you turn it into, what you are prior to herb, and how you came about that? Was that just a solopreneur thing where you develop the character and the handle and the persona on your own?
Well, for me, I started the Cannabis Cutie because I was going to be the Orange County market leader for Women Grow, and I just wanted to have a cannabis page. It ended up spawning into something so fast that it just kind of happened so quick that I wasn't prepared for it. There was a lot of anxiety around recording and posting videos. So it all kind of happened organically and together. But it really is just me trying to engage with an audience that feels natural to myself and that's fun and interactive.
Well, and speaking of audiences, with ours, people are here because we're talking about careers in cannabis, and we've been detailing how you've come about yours. For our listeners, is there anything you could recommend for the people who are of the entrepreneurial spirit or out there trying to find their big break into cannabis? Is there any tips or guidance that you could throw their way as far as breaking into our industry?
Yeah, I definitely struggled with, what is it that I'm going to do in the cannabis industry? I'm good at so many things. And really what it comes down to is you just have to do the thing that you're good at. I am naturally a gifted speaker. So for me, finding something that I could speak about that the people need to know and that interests them was perfect. But if your skill set is marketing or research or analyzing data, whatever that is, whatever you're good at, it can be applied to the cannabis industry. So I would say when looking for what you want to do in the space, think about what really makes you happy and do that.
Fantastic advice. It really is. And you can get more of, I imagine, some of this advice and some education. I do believe, if I'm thinking about it correctly, Tuesdays and Thursdays, you go live with Herb. Is that correct?
Yes, I go live with Herb on Tuesdays on their Facebook page. They have over 11 million people over there, so it's a really fun time. And then on Thursdays, I go live on their Instagram. They have over 1 million. And it's just really cool to see all of the brands and companies and people that pop into that live and then are interacting and learning together. So it's kind of an elevated audience. I really enjoy it.
Awesome. And, for our audience that wants to follow you, can you throw out your handles? It'll be in the bio of our podcast notes here, but would you just go ahead and denote that for the podcast?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at the Cannabis Cutie, and that word "the" is very important. So the Cannabis Cutie, and you can check out my website where I blog and post old videos that I've done in the past at www.thecannabiscutie.com.
Again, thank you so much for everything you've done for our industry, for helping people understand the cannabis plant more, and thank you for being a guest on our show.
Thank you for having me so much.
You can follow our series, Careers in Cannabis, as well as more great shows like this one at TRICHOMES.com. If you're a member of the cannabis community and you have a story you want to share with us, reach out. You can reach the show via careersincannabis at TRICHOMES.com. Please take a second to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. It really helps others find the show. For TRICHOMES.com, I'm Jarod Duggins. Be well, and thank you for listening.